What's up, rockers? Welcome to another episode of the Talk Louder podcast, where we geek out on all things rock and roll. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us your likes and comments. You can also leave likes and comments on our Facebook page. Follow us on iTunes, Spotify, Instagram at talklouder_podcast, and of course our website, talklouderpodcast.com, where you'll find links to our merch and all of our previous episodes. I'm Metal Dave, along with my co-host Jason McMaster. And today we're joined for the second time by Queensryche singer Todd La Torre. Todd's always a great guest, man. So many great stories, such a chill, cool dude. And he's back with us today to talk about his solo record, Rejoice in the Suffering. The album came out in 2021, so it's been out for a little while, but it's a great album. If you're a fan of Queensryche, you'll find plenty to like on it. I think there's a little more... In my opinion, there's some heavier elements, maybe a little more thrashy elements than you'll hear.
I was going to say, there's moments that are so fucking heavy. You're like,
your
brain splitting in a couple.
I almost feel like the description might be, if you had to describe it, maybe the bass line is Queensryche, and then it gets a little heavier and thrashier from there in certain places.
Okay.
But Todd, of course, his vocals are just, over the moon. He plays drums on the record. He's a great drummer. He played drums on the Queensryche album, The Verdict. If you're familiar with that album, that's him playing drums on that album. So a very accomplished drummer, obviously an accomplished singer, multi-instrumentalist, great songwriter, great dude. Always a great conversation.
I have to say, so this episode, we've had him on the show before. Mm-hmm. This episode is only half as long. I mean, the first one, we just went crazy. He stayed with us like 3 hours. It was a bit ridiculous, but it was just a cool hang.
It was great.
We kept it all. Yeah. So this one's slightly more focused. We do go off and we kind of cut up a little bit, but the point is I really want his solo stuff to do well. So I wanted to talk about Rejoice in the Suffering. To top that, it's recently been released. The first issue is on Rat Pack Records, and you, of course, can still get that version of it digitally as well as hard copy, if you will. So now there is, and it was on vinyl the first time too, on white vinyl. There are now pre-orders are being taken for an opaque red and a white with blood splatter, I believe is the concoctions they have this time of this version of Rejoice in the Suffering by Todd La Torre. Now, the company that put this out is Roar, Rock of Angels Records, I believe, and he's taking pre-orders now. If these are beautiful, sort of, I call them playable art, right? Yeah. You could put some art on the record player, right? Probably comes with all of you can get this, the bundle, if you will. I think that there's a reissue of the CD that comes with these. I'm not certain, but I love Todd. He's always been so cool. And I want this record to do well. When he reached out a couple of weeks ago about these, not reissues, but these special editions of a newer vinyl version. By the way, 200 of the white with blood splatter, I believe, and only 300 of the opaque red. That's only 500 copies, so it's very limited special edition. Very, very cool. In the US and Canada, you're probably going to pay a lot for the shipping. These are on, they're probably, I think he mentions that they're produced and manufactured in Germany.
Yeah.
So it's a European reissue, kind of. And so it'll be easier for people over there to get these special edition issues. And harder for us Yanks So,
Well, yeah, they look beautiful, as you said,
yeah.
and we will have some photos in the montage. I also wanted to give a quick shout to our friend Kenny Sanford, because we're going to use a couple of his live photos of Todd La Torre in our photo montage. So yeah, Todd's got the "Rejoice in the Sufferings." It's sort of the special edition, if you will, colored vinyl out now. And of course, still busy with Queensryche, getting ready to kick off another leg of the Digital Noise Alliance tour. They go out March 3rd on a triple bill with Marty Friedman and Trauma. So keep an eye out for that. He'll be on the road and coming.
We're having Chris from Trauma on the show very soon, aren't we, Dave?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So
and,
that'll probably come out around the same time or right before that Queensryche tour starts March 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, happy to have him again. Todd La Torre on the Talk Louder podcast today.
My pleasure, man.
We're bragging on you all the time now, dude. You're awesome. You're awesome guy, man.
We're your Texas street team.
Good,
yeah.
Good people you are.
Yeah.
The reason that I have called this meeting today.
Sounds official.
Yeah.
Friends and countrymen, is we want to help you promote your solo record. These reissues on vinyl are incredible looking.
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to hold one in my hands, hint, hint, but the deal, the deal is, let's talk about the music. I'm just going to vomit here. The music, from what I've heard so far, I'm not a pro yet on your solo stuff, but the musicianship alone is mind-blowing, breathtaking, incredible. What is your approach to writing this stuff? We'll talk about where they can get it. We want to talk about that so they can go get the shit.
Yeah.
What is your approach to this with your songwriting partner? And I don't recall his name at the moment.
Craig
Blackwell.
What is you guys' approach to writing a tune for your solo project? Do you not worry about what it's going to sound like, or do you have a bullseye? Are you thinking, okay, let's put my Queensryche brain over here? I mean, give us a scenario. I'm just stabbing in the dark.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we should tell people the album is called Rejoice in the Suffering.
Yeah.
So that's 2021 Todd's solo record, Rejoice in the Suffering.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, thanks. So because it was my record, I don't have to get it, hey, usually Queensryche, they'll give me music. I might write a little, I might have a guitar idea. So like on the new record, there's some stuff that, I used to have this prog thing that kind of went, so it was like a 7-7-7, then 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4, and then I would flip it 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 after the seven time. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1, and then I reverse it. So I had this whole guitar piece that I was going to use for me. I never ended up using it, so I showed it to Michael. Well, he kind of changed it, and it was used in the song, I think it was used in Tormentum, which is like, it was like, it was kind of simplified from all the notes that I had. Those kinds of things, it's like, I don't want to change that. In Queensryche, you got to give and take, right? That's what that's what it is to be in a band, and they're going to chop up your ideas. You might chop up their ideas, that kind of thing. With my solo record, I get exactly what I want, the way I want it. I bang the gavel. It's my stuff. I love that because, nobody's opinion is wrong. It's just not mine. So,
No, it's not. You're
you know,
100%.
so that's the whole point is no, man, I don't want to change that. I want it this way. So Craig, so on my solo stuff as a drummer, I'll say, hey man, I want a song like on that record that's like that's the kind of thing I want. So on the drums, I go, and then he comes up with this, you know, you know, he comes up with a guitar groove and he sends it over, and then I'm like, okay, yeah, hey, I want a little less palm muting here, and I want like a really kind of dissonant open chord to just ring out when I'm singing something, and then in the whole you can bring in your palm muted little riffage. And so we just would do that. Or he would say, hey, what do you think of this idea? And he would send it over, and I would say, I love that, like that's perfect, go move on to the next part. There's our verse, I'm good with that. So okay, that's going to happen again. Maybe you layer a different guitar the second time, that second verse to add a little color to it and build it that way. But I mean, I did all the drums, I did all the vocals, Craig did all the guitars, and he did the bass. Originally, I had approached Jeff Lords, who was the bassist for Crimson Glory, because he's just such a phenomenal bass player. He has a really interesting attack. I mean, the way he plays, it's like it's a very unique thing that he does. And I said, hey, would you be willing to throw some bass down on my record? But I think due to time, he was a little apprehensive. He's very particular. I'm like, dude, whatever you do is going to be great. I'm not even worried about it. You know, I wasn't trying to direct him on what he's best at, but he's so meticulous that he wanted to write every bass line perfect. And then and it was just a process. And I was like, this is my deadline. This is what I got. And he didn't want to give me he didn't want to say yes, and then he maybe couldn't deliver on the timeline because he has other stuff. He has a life too, right? So,
Yeah.
So at the last minute, I was like, well, you played bass on the demo stuff, Craig. Just play bass on it again. I mean, tried to play it, I think, more like a bass player would play it, but sometimes you can really tell when a guitar player plays bass versus when a bassist plays bass. They're just going to do things a little differently. But anyway, so Craig did all that. It was just me and him. It was really easy, to be honest, guys. I mean, we wrote and recorded the whole thing in 4 months, and some songs were just like Crossroads to Insanity, which is like a ballad on the record. That was just like he had the music. He came up with the music, and I was like, that's awesome. It's dark. It's spacious. I love that. And I said, he goes, well, I have a melody idea on the vocal. And I said, well, what is it? And he told it to me, and that's what started out the verse parts. And then I wrote all the lyrics. And then I think we had that song written and done in like 2.5 days.
Wow.
Maybe 3 days. And then I said, you know, write your solo. That's a purposeful solo, which he did. And, you know, those things just came together really. Vanguards of the Dawn Wall wrote in 1 day. Hellbound and Down, which there's a video for that one too. That one was like my nemesis. Like I could never get the chorus right. I felt maybe this will be a B-side. I don't know. And then somehow we ended up, I got something right with this chorus and then this little breakdown thing, but it worked out really, really well. And we just self-produced it, you know? And again, I didn't want to hire a producer because I know exactly what I want. And any of us could go into another band situation and be a producer. And by the way, the quotations weren't undermining producers, but you could be a producer and you could say, hey, I think you should sing when the guitar riff does this and kind of do it together. And another producer could say, you're walking on the riff, totally don't sing there. So everything is so subjective, right? And I didn't want somebody to say, well, I think you should do that. Well, now I'm giving the reins to somebody else. And that's the whole antithesis of why I'm doing exactly what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it. Could it have been better? Sure. I think something could always be improved, but at some point you got to put the paintbrush down and say, this is what I thought was great when we did it. Let it simmer for a little bit and go back and be like, yeah, that still holds up. That still kicks ass.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's beyond a starting point, because shit came out brutal, and your voice on the songs that I've heard, and I don't have titles in my head, but I'm moving around the record going, I mean, you have like 5 or 6 different voices you're using throughout, and I hear all of your influences right there on your sleeve.
Yeah.
They're colors that I'm fairly familiar with, so I'm a fan of these colors every time you add them to the song, the painting, the song, whatever metaphor you have. It sounds like your partnership with Craig is incredible. I know you guys have been working together, had a band
Since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
The first band I ever joined as a drummer, he came over to my house because I was friends with the bass player, and they were older than me, a couple years older. And he came over to my house, and he's like, hey, this is Craig, because the band was called Blackwell, and they were like the cool high school band. And I was like, damn, that guy's badass, you know? And they came over, and they're like, I'm like, well, I don't really know what you want me to play. And Craig's like, just play whatever. I said, okay, well, I've been playing to like Mechanical Resonance, right? And so I put the headphones on. I said, well, I'm just going to hit play and just play the song, you know? And I was like, you know, as soon as I hit, before I even really did a lot, it was like, you're in. Like, he liked that the attack that I had, and just whatever it was, he liked it. So I joined that band. And so I've known Craig since my sophomore year of high school, and we joined the band. We had Blackwell jackets, you know, like a little gang. I still have the jacket in my closet.
Yeah.
He'll come over once in a blue moon, and I'll go, dude, and I'll put it on. It still fits. I'll go, check that out. He's like, that's awesome, man. I don't know if he knows where his is, but so yeah, Craig and I have been working together since our teenage years, and did other stuff. Like when I was in my 20s, we recorded some stuff, and you know, nobody's ever heard it. So I have like some recordings of where I sang and played drums. He played guitar and bass, of when I was like, you know, in my early 20s. And then there's some stuff that actually made it on that record, when we were just writing stuff together back in like 95.
So stuff from that far back, as far back as 95, like just snippets ended up on Rejoice?
Yeah, so
Wow.
The beginning of a song called Critical Cynic, it goes so it's, you know, it's all that.
Yeah.
And that, you know, that whole piece. I said, hey, remember that thing we used to do? That, and he's like, yeah. I go, I always thought that was so cool. I would love it if we could find a place for that. And so I was like, well, what if we both were like, well, what if we start the song like that? And then it ends with this chord, and then that comes in. And that's exactly, we wrote that in like 1995, 96.
Wow.
And we still talk about those old riff ideas. So yeah, making this thing together is great. And here's the thing. He's really good at, if I mouth the part, he's really good at replicating. Like, we speak the same language. So if I say, you know, he knows when I'm palm muting. That's like palm muted, and then I'll open the string. or gig, right?
Yeah.
Or if I say, hey, I got this idea for this solo, and I'll play a little to where then I can't, but I'll say I'm hearing it like this, and then bend out of the note here, and so I can kind of talk him into some of these parts, and he'll get it like that, and I'll say yes right there, and then everything after that, do whatever you want, but I'm hearing the lead into the solo starting this way. And even the guys in Queensryche they're so fucking cool guys, because they don't say, hey, you're the singer, just stay in your lane. Michael comes up with lyrics and melodies, and he'll say, hey, I got this idea, and if I can work it and it's right, totally use it. On the song Forest, which is the ballad, the slow ballad. So that whole intro where you hear the guitar slide, I played that. That's me on the recording.
Wow.
Because I did it on the demo. He was playing something, and I go, hey, what about something like this? Can I see your guitar? He's like, yeah. I go, you got a slide? Yeah. I said, this reminds me of something you and Chris would have done. Check this out. And then I played this. We kind of just played around. He had a guitar, and then I grabbed another guitar, and we experimented with things, and we recorded those ideas. And when the slide thing, it just fit. So when it came time to record, he's like, just use what he played, and it's like perfect. Why am I going to try to recreate what we already have?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, they're really, really so gracious and only care about what's best for the song. And they don't care if I played it or if they played it or if Eddie came up with the lyrics or a vocal or I did or Michael or Casey, or who gives a shit. We just want to make it great. But when you've got five dudes in the kitchen, it's tough sometimes, because you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on kind of like my role. Otherwise, it can be, and you have to let somebody shine at what they do. Like, I would never tell Michael, hey, like, do this sweep picking arpeggio run into. Michael's not that player. He doesn't play like that. No. So why would I ever try to get him to be what he's not? Or if somebody told me to, hey, approach the vocal this way, if it's just really unnatural and I don't like it, it might be perfect and out of my comfort zone, and I'll go for it. But if I'm just like, hey, that is just not a stylistic thing I would ever want to do, like, I don't want to do that. Can I just do it the way I do it? And then they'll say, well, let's hear a couple of ways. And then I'll say, this is the way I'm hearing it and feeling it. And most of the time they're like, yeah, dude, be who you are.
The cool thing
the solo record was really comfortable.
Yeah. The cool thing, back to Michael and Eddie and them, making suggestions to add to, or, to just add pages to the story that are optional, is very cool and very open-minded to making a great record in the end. It's not about, here's my riff.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I can't wait for my riff to come around, because that means that someone's going to get butt hurt, and it doesn't.
Right. So what I do in Queensryche is I've given them, I think, one kind of song, and it just got hacked to pieces, and it was like, well, we don't like that, but we like this, and so I learned right then, hey, when you Eddie comes to the band with full songs, but I don't. And if I have an idea, like a little pretty thing, I'll say, hey, check this chord out. Check this thing out. You dig that? Yeah, that's cool. Cool. Maybe there's a spot where you find that that's a link to something or whatever. Because so what happened with the one song that I gave him, I wish I had a guitar plugged in, I'd show you, but it's like, it was this more metal kind of riff. It wasn't really Queensryche in the style that I was playing this. And I was like, you know what, this riff's badass. I'm totally going to keep it for my stuff. Like, if you're going to like chop it up 1,000 ways, like, I'd rather just not even give it to you. I'm going to keep it for my own thing. And so I ended up using that riff on one of my other songs. So yeah, there's no hard feelings or anything with that, but they're super open-minded when it comes to just everybody, crossing over into the other person's instrument or something like that. And that's what I really love. What I loved about the solo record was vocally, I could do whatever I wanted. So going back to your other part of your question, do I think, okay, I'm going to shelve Queensryche over here and do that? What I do is whatever that song makes me feel like singing. So there's a song called Vexed on the record, and it starts out with this acoustic, it's a, who knows the future? You're staring at the mysteries in the sky. And it's got the time machine, and it's a very Queensryche delivery. Like it could totally be a Queensryche part.
Yeah.
But that's what that made me feel like. And so I just sang whatever I felt. When the guys in Queensryche typically write, if it sounds like that sound, I'm just gonna naturally sing it kind of in the Queensryche way. But if Michael comes up with something heavier, where I don't go, oh, I should try to make it sound like Queensryche. I just go, this is what I'm feeling. So there's a song called Sick Death on the record, and it's like, what to believe, what is deceit? Tate would never sing it that way,
No.
right? But I don't care, because I got to do what I feel.
That's right.
Sounds natural and gives it that punch, And that's where I think, Jason, with your vocal, is you can sing clean, but you also have a lot of grit as well, right? And so part of that grit will just give you an attitude that otherwise you're not going to get. Like if you listen to John Bush, right? He's got that clean grit. He's got that grit in his voice, and it gives it that edge that if that were sung perfectly clean, it just wouldn't have quite that intensity and sound to it. So I do have some scratchy stuff with the band, but on my own, I did a song called One by One, which is full blown gutturals.
Yeah.
It's all, and it's like, cool, like I can do that. And I wanted to show you said it really well. And another time I did your podcast was, you said, or maybe it was a phone call we were on, I can't recall, but you did say to me, you had to scratch that itch with my solo record. And I was like, yeah, and it made me less apt to feel like I need to do this, inject that into a Queensryche thing, right? Like, well, I have no other outlet to do this crazy thing. How can I get it out in a song over here? And I think I'm disciplined enough and respectful enough to know that that's not appropriate. So that this record we're talking about was just that perfect. It was like a purging for myself to just show everybody else, hey, these are other voicings that I can do and that I like to do. Check it out.
Yeah,
and that's basically what it was.
I love the insight into the songwriting process with Queensryche, because whatever it is you guys are doing, just keep doing it. Because I think Digital Noise Alliance was one of the best albums of last year. So consistent and such a great listen from start to finish. I love that record, and it kind of brought me back to Queensryche. I'll be honest. It was like, wow, this is really, really good. So great album.
Thank you.
I want to talk about, again, Rejoice in the Suffering. I've heard people describe it, or I've read maybe some reviews where people refer to it maybe as more of a metal album from you.
Oh, yeah.
But then I hear songs like Crossroads to Insanity, and you mentioned Vexed. I hear things in there that would appeal to Queensryche fans as well. So How would you describe the album to people who haven't heard it?
I would say that it is a very, look, I don't know how people react to that, but it's like more like true metal, right?
Yeah.
It's not, and not saying that the other stuff that's out today isn't like metal. But when I think of like classic metal, it's more like simplified, not overplaying. Like, I don't want to name the station. Not that I should give a shit, because I'm not even on it, and they won't even put us on it. But there's a serious XM metal station that I put on in the car, and some of the stuff I really love, but it's always old. It's always old. Testament or Exodus or Overkill or Slayer. But everything else that's out, most of it, with the exception of Gojira and stuff like that, whom I think are great.
Yeah.
I put it on, and it's, and it's just like, and then I'll put on like yacht rock. It'll be like, fucking
Pina coladas.
Dude, it's just like,
Jerry Rafferty.
Love, so don't forget it.
Oh, 10cc.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is so nice. And then I'll purposefully, I'll put it back on, and it'll be, go down, go down. And then I'll go, keep your picture on the wall.
Yep.
And I'll flip flop back, right? Or it'll be, that's how much I feel for you, baby. Right? And then I'll go back again 3 minutes or a minute later, and I'll look, and it sounds the same, and it's another band's name. And I'll do that on the course of a drive. And then I'll put it on again, and it sounds like the same fucking band. And it's another band, and it sounds the same.
Would you say that kind of, let's say, that metal is in a box? Because it kind of is.
Dude, it's in
package.
a box.
Yeah,
nailed,
check it out.
Nailed shut.
Nashville is the same way. It's like the same band, same guys in Nashville playing on every new country stars. I use the word country loosely.
Yeah.
It's in a box, and it's all sounding the same.
It's all the same. Listen,
and the sheep listening, they don't care, which is really sad.
Here. Dude, we're like the get off my lawn, kid. That's us now.
Oh, I'm all about that. I need a shirt.
The music in my day.
Yeah.
But listen. But the thing is,
you're making me feel very welcome in this conversation.
The thing is like, you have great players. Okay. I'm hearing very talented musicians. I just don't hear any songs.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm painting with a broad brush, okay? But whatever. But it's like, so going back, Dave, to the question you asked, how would I describe it? I think that there are moments where you'll hear some footwork. There are moments where you hear a and then into a big note. It's not constant shredding. I don't give a fuck about shredding.
Right.
Not at all. If it makes musical sense and there's a reason for it where it's going somewhere, then I would say, okay, that's great. I like parts of it, but when it's just everybody overplaying over everything else, there's no peaks and valleys. Everything's on 11. On this record, I told Craig, I love Fight, that first record from Fight.
Yeah.
I love Halford's solo stuff. So I want stuff that grooves, that has groove, and makes you want to do this. And there's not going to be just crazy fills all the time. I want there to be melody and hooks, and hopefully I achieved that. But it was more stripped down and simplified. There might be a key, like an atmospheric pad, to give it some color, because it was very stripped down sounding and just very clean. And when you think of like Accept, or you think of some of these old classic bands where it's like it didn't have all this overplaying, and it had room to breathe, and that was what I really, really wanted. On the next one that I'm working on and writing ideas, and by the way, on Rejoice, we used the the Mesa Boogie Mark IV and the EVH. So it was like really crunchy. I wanted that bite. And I'm not saying the next one won't have that, but I'm thinking I might go more old school. I've been playing through like a 72 Marshall Plexi on my Kemper. And it's like, I was talking with Andy Sneap the other day, and he was showing me his Marshall, one of these Marshalls, and showed me like a sound that he had. And I was like, hey, you know, if I play through this, can I get, and we were talking techie stuff. And I was thinking, okay, everybody's got that real heavy. But man, when you listen to like old Rainbow with Dio, right? Like it was heavy, but those guitars weren't so bitey. Even though I love the bitey guitars on my record, I think on the next one, I'm going much more musical. I want more musical, less palm, less that, and more picking through some pretty chords. And I'm really kind of, so even though I didn't go into Rejoice with a specific plan, I was like, hey, I really love the stuff we've done. And it is kind of in the Fight Halford area, so to speak.
Yeah.
On this one, I'm thinking my headspace is more like more just musical and open and less good and more of like an older crunchy tone of like a Marshall that like I've never played through. I never played through a Marshall.
When I say I'm going to throw some words out to you and see if you can imagine and recall the guitar tones.
Okay.
Rick Rubin on Rain and Blood made Kerry and Jeff plug straight into Marshalls. Think of that guitar tone right now. I don't think they're using any pedals.
Anything, yeah.
They're going straight in. So that's Malcolm Young. That's Richie Blackmore. They're going straight in. That's a natural tone. It's kind of like you could do this. You could go, okay, Les Paul, Marshall, nothing in between. You know, maybe the preamp's up all the way, but it's 100 watt. So it's not going to break up or go. It's not like It's not like gent, you know.
Right.
Doesn't have any of that rectifier crap on it at all. I call it natural.
Right. That's good.
We're talking about Slayer. Let's talk about Slayer. Metal as fuck, but natural straight in. It challenged those guys to play aggressive without, you know, the filters, if you will, that make the in layman's term the fans just go, oh yeah, it's crunchy metal. Let's get all the distortion pedals in a pile and plug it all in. No, don't do that. In the studio, less is more. I feel like that's where what you're kind of talking about. On Rejoice, I think that it's great that you created your own thing, had Craig by your side, who's been obviously your partner in crime since you were 20 or younger.
15, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
So it really says a lot about the record. And you, to use my own phrase, the itches that were fester no more. You got it all out. And now there's more things that you want to do. You have a good jumping off point. And I think people need to go get this record. I know that it's been out for a little while. These I hate to call it reissue because I still want to call it kind of a new record.
Right. Well, what it really is so this record was put out on Rat Pack Records, and there were some units shipped to Europe. So they were in some stores, but there weren't a lot of vinyls put. I mean, God, it's just very expensive, right? And that was all during COVID too.
Mm-hmm.
When we were doing that. So this is going to be, and honestly, it's really cool that somebody was interested 2 years after the release to do this. So the original vinyl it's a double LP, and they were white, really beautiful white that go with the cover. And then they were interested in doing an exclusive European release that go in all the major stores. So there's, so many thousands of CDs over there, a couple thousand CDs. A lot of the Europeans, I believe, got digital only because it's so expensive to, if you're in Germany or Norway or wherever, to buy from the States, pay the shipping, and then all their VAT, all their taxes they have to pay. It's a lot of money. Yeah. And so now they're manufactured in Europe, this run that we're doing. And it's there's an opaque red that looks killer.
Yeah.
There's 200 I think there's 200 of those. And then there's 300 limited white with red blood splatter on those. So there's 300 of those. So there's 500 limited vinyl, the two color versions. And then they'll have the physical CD, the digipack or whatever over there. So now, like when you go into like a store in Europe, 9 times out of 10 you'll find my record there, and people can actually get the real thing. And as you guys know, a lot of people, especially Europeans that love metal so much, they love to collect vinyl, and they play vinyl. So I'm really hopeful that there's the interest over there. I think that there is, and so yeah, that's what this. So it's not a reissue per se, but I know what you mean though. It kind of is, but it isn't. I mean, it's the same
special edition.
It's a special edition, limited special edition on the vinyls, and
very limited, I would say. I mean, 500 total between the two colors. That's it. That's pretty limited. So if you're a fan, you need to get
that. And I know that there's people here in the States that love the record and got the vinyl, and they bought the whole bundle with all the stuff. That they've already done the because there are pre-orders happening now.
Not shocked at all.
Yeah. And so they're buying. I told the label, I was like, you're going to have people from the States over here that are totally going to want to buy that because, they love the record, and the fact that it's a limited run, they're going to want to snag it. So that's really good. But yeah, it's
is that in the works then? Is it possible that the States might see those colored vinyls, or is that strictly a European thing?
If you go online to roar-records.de, the pre-order link is there, and I think musicmegastore.com, I think they'll have it. But if you go to the record label that's putting this out is called Roar, Rock of Angels Records. So Matt Barlow and Freddie from Ashes of Aries turned me on to this label. And they're I have really good relations with the Greeks, and they're a Greek label. And so, but they've got full distribution. And so, if you're in Germany or in Greece, because I think they might be manufactured in Germany, I'm not sure, but nevertheless, if you're an EU country, you're not going to get whacked with all the shipping like if you got it from the States, or all those duty taxes, those taxes. Yeah, that's what kills everything.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that there's just, you go into a mom and pop, or all the big store like Media Markt. That's a huge store in Europe. It's like Best Buy.
Right.
They're going to stock it there. I mean, my CD was in Tower Records in Japan. So I had people from Tokyo that were sending me pictures of, it said Todd La Torre in the old school things that we used
place
to
card. Yeah.
Yeah. A little card. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it got distributed all over the world, but Europe was very limited on the physical. So this is the opportunity for the Europeans to get that physical copy.
I've seen
if
photos.
If we wanted to order it, we could order it, but we would have to pay mega shipping, huh?
You would have to pay, the shipping, and then whatever the customs that I'm sure they tax. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I've seen the photos of it, and it is a beautiful looking LP. So
thank you. Yeah, it's
Now you got to buy 2, frameable because it's beautiful, and then 1 for the record player.
I need to tell them, hey, I want one. I need 1 of each. Craig needs 1 of each. Zeus is probably going to want 1 of each.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'll pay for them. There's 6 sales right there.
So you recorded this with Zeus?
So Craig and I recorded this on our own.
Okay.
And then Zeus, I hired him to mix and master it.
Right.
So yeah. So that was it. I hired him to mix and master it. And then actually I'll show you this. Hang on, let me grab this.
Sure.
This is
Todd La Torre Show and Tell.
Show and Tell.
Yep.
Brought to you by.
We're all about show and tell.
Tell him what she's won, Harvey. You've won. So my friend, unfortunately, who did there's 3 parts to this album cover. Let me grab a CD case and I'll show you. This happens to be a signed one from Craig and I, because I take these on tour with Queensryche and I sell signed copies.
Cool.
But if you look at this artwork here, my friend Eric Lohrman is the one that created years ago the TLT logo. Okay. And then this guy, Gene in Brazil, he does a lot of the artwork for Joe at Rat Pack. He did like Metal Church covers and Lynch Mob stuff and KXM. And anyway, he's really awesome. And you could give this guy 1,000 changes and he doesn't bitch about it. He's just very passionate, young, cool guy.
Nice.
So we integrated my logo. Gene did like all the computer work, but the Ouroboros, this guy here. So this is the original drawing. The guy that drew that passed away. He was killed in a motorcycle accident about 5 weeks ago, like
Terrible.
5 minutes, not even 5 minutes down the street from my house, unfortunately.
Unbelievable.
So
Sorry to hear that.
So now when I see the cover, it's kind of like he's kind of living on through some of this artwork that, he wasn't like this famous artist. He was just a really good friend of mine that was a killer artist. So this is the pencil drawing on a piece of paper.
Holy shit.
Wow.
This is the actual, so this is to scale. You can see how big my head. Okay.
Wow.
This is the real drawing. Let me see if I can get it.
Oh, that's fucking amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
some detail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, wow. That's
that's amazing.
So he hand drew this in my kitchen, on the kitchen table. And then I scanned this, and then we ended up so actually this is a little more red on the CD than in person. In person, it's a little more kind of burgundy-ish. And so my merch, the merch that I have, is actually a little bit more representative. It's like as to what the drawing is. On the CD, it's definitely more like red.
Yeah.
But it still looks cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, the vinyl, as I was saying, the vinyl was white, which just looked so clean with the cover. But the red one just looks so badass with this red. And then the white with red blood splatter, because there's actually like drops of blood here, if you can see. These little, like the blowout, like my logo is piercing through this guy.
Yeah.
And you can see some of the splatter. So the white with the red blood splatter is just going to be like
continuation. Yeah.
I totally dig how excited you are.
I do too. I'm sitting here listening to him, and I'm like, I love this.
I know, like I'm on the edge of my seat just watching you like nerd out on how badass your artwork is, and
I know.
You're so in the right place, bro.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was sitting here, just the smile was creeping across my face just watching his enthusiasm for his own artwork and his
too.
Album.
My heart rate went up about 2,000%. I'm going, I'm about to start headbanging and there's no music,
I do the same thing with Queensryche with the, when we did the logo, and Gene, who did this, he did the new Queensryche cover. And Eric Lohrman actually had a mock-up of the DNA first. He's like, hey, remember we were talking about artwork and this and that? He's like, well, I kind of did something, but I never showed it to you. I said, well, what is it? Because I told him about, it'd be cool if the DNA, blah, blah, blah. Well, he ended up doing this kind of mock-up of what the cover looks like, and we changed it. But I go through with the artist, and I was like, hey, I need these little nerve endings to make this logo look like a living entity. Like it has its own energy and life to it. So in the Queensryche where the DNA goes like that,
Yeah.
I need these yellow and purple, and I need these nerve endings to look like they have life. So all those little details I go through.
I love the Queensryche album cover, by the way, too. It's just it's the traditional logo, obviously, but brought up to date and has the concept of DNA sort of intertwined or incorporated into it. But I love the artwork. It's just the Queensryche, the cross or whatever you call it.
A Queensryche.
The Queensryche, yes. And I love the color scheme, the bluish, purplish kind of thing. I thought the album cover was great when I first saw it too. So
thank you.
Awesome that it completes the package, because the record is amazing too to listen to. Going back to Rejoice, I wanted to ask you, as a multi-instrumentalist, a guy who's not just an adequate drummer, but a hell of a drummer. And I know that you play guitar, and we obviously know your vocal abilities. Has it ever been a goal of yours to create a solo album where you play absolutely everything on the record? Or is that maybe something that, if it happens, it happens, but it's not really something you're shooting for?
It wasn't anything I'm shooting for because, I kind of like to go with the Henry Ford concept. It's like you get the best people to do that job for you. Mm-hmm. So, but there are moments where I'm like, hey, maybe I'll do something like that. Just not as an ego thing, but just because it's like, hey, for me, like, so because I can. So, but I'm not like a shreddy guy. So there's times where I think, oh, the song would call for that, but fuck, I can't do that. So how do I work around it? Okay, I have ideas. So I've actually got some like melodic death black songs that I've written. And I on these little demos, they're just programmed drums. So I would actually have to play them. And so I would play those. I could do the bass lines that I wanted. I played all the rhythms. I mean, it's killer. It's really cool stuff. I want to do like an EP of just this, like full blown corpse paint, like fucking, I want it to be like this side thing that I just do and kind of see what it's like.
Yeah.
But
do you have
there
a
are
name?
times where
a name for that project yet?
So I don't have a name for it, and as a little caveat here, legally right now, because of my contract with the label, not with Century, I can do full albums under my name. So if I wanted to call it another band name right now, as my contract sits, I can't.
Okay.
And that sucks because I don't want to always call everything my name. Yeah. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to work that. But I think, when that expires, I'm definitely going to push. It's still me. And I'm not anything bigger than Queensryche. I'm not leaving Queensryche. I'm not, Queensryche is always paramount. Okay. But if I have a cool sounding thing of music and I want to call it something else, like Eric Peterson had a band called Dragon Lord.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay? And it was like this black metal symphonic melodic,
I remember that.
But he didn't call it Eric Peterson. It's just Dragon Lord.
Right.
So, I'd like to be able to call it something and not just me. Although if it had to be me, maybe it would just be the TLT written in this like really cool way.
Yeah.
And it could still work. It could totally still work.
Like,
but yeah,
illegible, like tree branches and shit, so no one can read it.
Yeah, like every other band like that.
Well, see, the cool thing about even if you had to go that route is this solo path for you. It has no real boundaries or necessarily expectations. So if you did want to put out a TLT black metal album,
I can do it.
There's nobody saying, what's he thinking? That, it's you've clearly made your own path here, and
right,
as long as you're doing the TLT stuff.
Right.
I don't think TLT is in a box, so you're free to do whatever you want.
I'm glad that you say that and think that, because that's really what I want is to be like, Opeth. Opeth can do whatever. They can go from a beautiful 12-string thing into full-blown gutturals into this, really progressive thing with these organ sounds. They could do anything they want, right?
Yeah.
I want to do the same thing. So on the solo record, yeah, you had, Crossroads Insanity. Then you had Vanguards of the Dawn Wall. Then you had the title track. And then you had the gutturals of One by One. Then you had the pretty singing in the beginning of Vex. Then it was full-blown high singing in Vex. So yeah, I want to be able to do whatever I want to do and not have this label of he only does thrash. He only does, if I did a guttural thing, it's like, oh, what's he doing here? It's like, no, he does all this stuff. That's kind of what you would expect is you don't know what to expect. I
think it helps too that you are so closely identified with Queensryche. So there will never be any, you didn't establish yourself as Todd La Torre. You established yourself as the singer for Queensryche. So, and that's a very strong brand and a strong identity. So if you want to go and do something as TLT, I think everyone would reasonably expect that you're kind of doing whatever you want in that lane, Right. It's just like Jason, if he's doing, Dangerous Toys or whatever, there's an expectation of what that should be. But if he wants to go out and do Jason McMaster records,
it could be anything.
It could be anything. Exactly. And I think
it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Do you have any plans to tour the Rejoice album?
So that's a really good question. Yeah. The answer is yes. But the kicker for me is, touring is so expensive. Mm-hmm. Okay. And with Queensryche, we do well enough that we can tour on a bus with just the band, not, some bands, buses have two bands on it and they try to share the expense. We just have our band on the bus and, we travel comfortably and we do well. Right. So for my own stuff, look, I'm not making those kind of guarantees. I don't even know what kind of numbers I would pull on my own. But I wouldn't probably do like a long thing. I would like to be like, hey, I'm going to go do a 10-day, 12-day run up the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And let me bang out Georgia, up in New England area. Let me do that. And then another time, hey, I want to go west and do Arizona, Texas, Arizona, try to knock out some of that and then come back. So if I could do them in like 2-week spurts, the problem is I'd probably, depending on the money, but I mean, if I didn't really make anything, but I toured in a bus, I would rather do that and do it for fun than make some little money and do it in a van. Cause I just, dude, when you travel nice in a bus, going in a van, unless you have hotels and the stops make sense, then then a bus is a waste of money. But right. So it boils down to what kind of money can I get, and then the guys that I'm gonna have play with me, I can't expect them to work for free, so I got to pay them. The problem is when you get really seasoned guys that have toured and they've done it all, like they want real money. Yeah. And unless you got like your buddies that are like, fuck it, we're just going to go have fun. And that's what it is. It's like we're going, like the guys going camping, we're going to go fucking rock for 10 days and come home. Don't expect to like have a fat wallet when you come back, but we're going to have a kick-ass time. And if I could get out and open for like bands that I'm friends with, like Armored Saint or Testament or Overkill or something like that, Flotsam. I don't know if I could get on a slot with them as an opener for 1 or 2 nights while they're making their run. That would be great. You know, I don't need to be any, you know, big thing, but I think I could do shows on my own, and I would love to pack little, you know, little 300, 400 seaters, you know,
Yeah.
just, I would love to do that. I would
Just
love to
hot
do
and
that.
sweaty, man. Yeah.
At some point, I'm definitely going to do this stuff live. It's just, I got to figure this out. Man.
Well,
Well,
people-
I'm asking for selfish reasons because I was hoping you would come to Texas and we'd get to see you do the Rejoice album live.
Not to
That would
harp on
be-
it, but people don't know how much a bus is every day.
Oof.
A daily bus fee is,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't.
it could be a couple of gigs worth of pay sometimes for one day on a bus.
Yeah, it's
You know,
expensive.
in tough times, it could not make sense at all to be on a bus. But I hear you. If you were on a bus and you were kind of roughing it a little bit, you wouldn't have to have a hotel room every night. It was just get one room to shower, and you know, there's
Get a day room.
ways around that. You got
Yeah.
to take care of your driver. The driver's a member of the band, or more important sometimes.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Upset driver, upset band.
Sleepy driver, no good.
Piss off the driver, tour's over. You know.
Yeah, we get really good drivers, and so, you know, if I could afford a bus on my own, you know, there's a couple drivers that I totally know are great, and we have a really good rapport from touring with the Queensryche, and so but you got to get a day room for the band to shower and do all that, and then you got to get a room for the driver every night.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it adds up. It really adds up.
Yeah. We should
But,
talk
you know,
real quick.
Well, let's hope that happens. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I hope that does happen. But in the meantime, we do know that you're going out with Queensryche again. So where will people be able to see you with Queensryche on this next run?
Sure. So the tour starts March 3rd. And that first show, I believe, is in Orlando, Florida. And then we head south, like down near Fort Lauderdale, and then back up. We do the US. It's about a 6.5 week tour.
Okay.
And then the last show is April 16th. It'll be a hometown show for me here at Janus in St. Pete. But we roll through Texas.
Right.
And so they can go on to any of the Queensryche official social outlets out there. I mean, our website, queensrycheofficial.com, there's a tour tab. I'm not sure if the Facebook has a tour date thing or not, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, everywhere where the official Queensryche stuff is, you can Google the tour dates. It's very easy to find, and all those tour dates are there. So yeah, we got rehearsals coming up here in 10 days, and it's going to be a completely different set. So we're going to play a lot of stuff from my era with the band.
Wow,
like
nice.
A significant amount.
Yeah.
And then we're breaking out a couple really deep classic cuts. One of them I've never done in the band before.
Something about a lady.
No, Lady Wore Black is not in it.
Okay, just a question.
No, that's cool. But so yeah, there's it's gonna be a really good set. I got to start, you know, warming up my voice and getting conditioned for these. And I'm actually like reading lyrics to memorize. It's like, oh, like a couple of the old ones. It's like I'm trying to. I don't remember how that goes, and so I'm refreshing lyrics and whatnot. But
so
yeah,
it's a longer set because it's a headlining set. If anyone and everyone listening or watching saw Queensryche on both Priest legs on the 50-year anniversary and Digital Noise Alliance, when it came out kind of mid-tour, didn't it? The Queensryche record.
So I think the second tour we did with them, that's like right when the record came out.
Right, that's what I thought. Right.
Yeah. It came out right then. So we added like 2 new songs. And then on that tour, we had a bunch of dates that were 45-minute opening slots, and then a lot of them that were an hour.
Right.
So this headline set will be probably not an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going out with Marty Friedman and Trauma, is that correct?
Yep. So Trauma will open up the night. For those that aren't familiar, that's a thrash band that Cliff Burton was in before he joined Metallica. That's kind of their kind of big claim to fame.
Yeah.
Really cool guys, great music. So they're gonna start kicking the show off with that. And then Marty Friedman will be direct support, which is cool because he doesn't play the US that much.
Yeah.
So people will get a chance to check all that stuff out. And yeah, it's going to be good. But 6 weeks, when I saw you guys in Texas, it gets tiring.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yep. 6.5 weeks is like, I mean, week 2, you're like, fuck yeah. Week 3, you're like, bam. We're just so gelled. Week 4, you're like, man, this is getting tired. And then week 5, you're like, okay, we got another week after this. We're almost weeks, into that. We got a week left. You're like, and really like that last week, I almost think you have the most fun because the end is near.
Yeah.
You've been doing it all, and there's like less stress and pressure. And I almost think some of those last shows are the best, the most fun for me because I'm so conditioned. And I know that I'm getting ready to go home soon, and it feels happier for me for some reason.
Yeah, I got to say, I was thinking about you the next day after I saw you, because when we saw you in San Antonio, the very next day was Thanksgiving. And, of course, I'm following you on social media, and I'm following Judas Priest on social media. And you guys, I'm at home with my family celebrating the holiday, and you guys are stuck in a hotel somewhere or sitting on a bus at a truck stop parking lot. And I was just thinking, you know what? There is a lot of sacrifice that goes into what you do. And I know people look at you on stage and they see you in the magazines, and I know not everybody thinks it's all glamour all the time, but I don't think it really sinks in unless you really give it some thought. And I gave it a lot of thought that day, because the very next day, less than 24 hours later, I'm sitting at a spread with my parents and my siblings. And I was thinking of you guys, wondering what the hell you're doing, probably having dinner with a road crew somewhere,
So first of all, thank you for that. That Thanksgiving, it was rainy and it was cold, and we were at a hotel. And I remember our tour manager said, hey, they have a Thanksgiving dinner you can order inside. And it was like, a little bit of turkey and, stuffing and all that. And so I actually got my own room for that day. And I was like, all right, I gotta sprawl out on the bed. I gotta just have my own space. So I bought my own room. And then I did a band text, and I go, I'm hungry. I'm going to go down and eat if anyone wants to join me. Michael is the only one that texted me back and said, hey, I'll join you. I was like, okay. So Michael and I went downstairs into the main area, and we sat down, and they ordered, and they brought us our little Thanksgiving dinner. But yeah, soon we were done, and then Michael went and ventured and did whatever. And then I went back to my room and watched TV. Like it's lonely, dude. It can get depressing because, everyone's, and you're happy, and it's happy for that moment. And then they go home, and that was their night out.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like, I'm going to go find the shower in that venue. I'm going to live out of a suitcase. I'm going to go back on the bus, and I'm going to do it again. And this is what I'm going to do for, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And while everybody else gets to do that, there are those moments. So thank you for acknowledging some of those sacrifices that people may not think about.
Yeah, I think about it from time to time, just in general, but that one really hit home because I guess it's because we talked to you. We had you on the podcast. I saw you in person at the gig. And so it really resonated with me and sort of stuck with me for a few days afterwards, because I knew that I was doing the opposite of what you were doing. So,
one of the things that gives me a lot of anxiety is, as your parents get older, and I when my dad died, he committed suicide back in 2014, and you get that phone call, right? And I can remember this just getting blindsided. I happened to be home, and not that it would have mattered, but I happened to be home. But I get anxiety thinking, what if something happens to my mom? What if, I get that call and say, this happened to mom, or my wife calls and says, our little dog, he passed away, or he had a seizure, or he had, I get these really morbid, dark thoughts. And I think, if I'm out starting a tour and something happens to my family member, my sister, who knows, what do I do?
Right.
Do I just, I gotta go you gotta go home. You gotta see your mom. Right. But then again, you're screwing everybody's pay, everybody to promote it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But psychologically, there's no way I could go out there and sing every night, and I'd be a wreck.
Right.
So those kind of things bother me, and they worry me as we're aging and these things happen. And you think, Jason has toured forever. He knows what that can be like. The guys in the band, I've seen guys in the band get phone calls of a family member passing away on the tour. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't think I could even be here. Like, I would have to go home, and I would be a basket case for a long time.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things but any traveling business person would be in the same boat as what I'm discussing. Not because I'm in a band, I'm special to this.
Drummer from Dangerous Toys, when we were making the record, the phone rang and his father had passed away. So he's in the middle of making a record. It's like your creative moment, right,
is crushed.
And then you have to fly home. Of course, you have to fly.
Yeah.
So everything kind of stops for a second, and but that's just it's on one side, it's what you signed up for. On the other side, you're not a robot. You're a fucking human being. Right. So there's all of the stuff that goes along with it.
Yeah.
That's important. And
well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
So before we close this out, I'm gonna turn the tables on Jason.
Oh shit.
And I want to know, how cool was that on these gigs that you were called as a last second emergency reserve to go sing for?
That's a hell of a segue.
Wait, did that happen?
Because it's the same thing when you're thinking about it. It's like, the singer, we can't play. Oh, the crew can't work. The promoter's fucked.
Okay, yeah, you're right. That's a segue.
It's the same thing, isn't it? In a much lighter. No one died, right?
Well played, Todd.
It's not Thanksgiving. It wasn't Thanksgiving, and no one died. But
thank you, everyone, for joining the Talk Louder podcast. I'm your host, Todd La Torre, with Dave Lesnar here. Our special guest this evening is, you know him well, the voice of Dangerous Toys and many, many others, Mr. Jason McMaster. Jason, thank you for being with us.
It's a blast.
Right out of the gate.
It's an honor to be here with you guys today.
I know. So what was that like?
No rehearsal.
Fuck.
I don't know these songs. You want me to sing what song? What? I don't know that song. Okay. So imagine this, whether it be Wolf Hoffman or Joey Vera, right? Wolf Hoffman or Joey Vera. And and the set list, I'm going, well, the older the material, the easier it is for me to even sing it phonetically, whether I know the song verbatim or not. Because
you grew up on it.
Fast as a Shark, I got that. Can You Deliver and Madhouse and March of the Saint, I got that. Long Before I Die, I can do that. But there's all these other things, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know that.
Never heard that, yeah.
Right. So I had to figure it out.
You never heard Rejoice in the Suffering. How would you know these except in Armored Saint songs?
It's the same, right? Right. It's like, hey, we need a guy. Okay, you just stand here and do whatever. We don't care if you. Wolf Hoffman actually said something like, "We don't care if you hold an iPad and just stand there and sing."
Yeah, but it's also that familiarity, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're like, no, like, I don't even know the song. So you have to like learn something you've never even really heard before.
Yeah,
on some
and
of these songs.
I don't even have room to apologize to these guys. Like, you know, the Mark Accept, the last 10 years of Accept, I'll just hand over my heart. I'm unfamiliar with it.
Sure, you're honest.
I've heard it, and it's pretty badass. So I'm just going, but I mean, I'm stuck in 1986, as all my friends know. So, you know, I want to hear all the Udo shit up to all the way through, you know, not even Russian roulette, honestly.
Metal Heart.
Get me to Metal Heart and I'm cool. But
right.
Wow, there's this whole other, you know, 9 lives. I know the first 4 lives. I don't know what's happening after that. To answer the question, it was the most, under the terrible circumstances, it was the most awesome invite a hard rock heavy metal singer could red carpet roll out.
Yeah.
You know, they're handing me, you know, Mark's microphone. They're handing me John Bush's microphone. I'm going, whoa. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like I accept this award.
Yeah, the pick of destiny.
I'm not worthy. The microphone of destiny.
The mic of destiny. Yeah.
Mic of destiny.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't know what to say. I did not prepare a speech. I just landed an hour ago. I don't know the fucking songs, but here goes nothing.
But real quick, let me interject.
Yeah.
Aside of how well it went or whatever, put that on the side. The real sweetness to this is that they called you. And what does that say? Like, that touches you to say, wow, whether I knew them or knew the songs or didn't know the songs, they respected me well enough, as a human being, because if you're awesome but you're a fucking asshole, they're not going to call you. But you're not. You're an awesome guy, right? So that's a real testament to you as your character. And of course, you got the chops. So what a great thing at the end of the day, whether you missed a lyric or you nailed the lyric or a note or whatever, the fact that you were the go-to guy and is a lot. And then you had the balls to say, I'll do it. And like, I'm going to bite this thing off and I'll learn how to chew it as I go.
Right.
And so kudos to you for doing that. Because I mean, people say, oh, it takes a lot of balls to, you know, get into Queensryche and fill those shoes. And I'm like, what was I going to do? Say no? Like, no, you fucking go do it.
Well, little known fact.
So that's awesome, man. I think that's awesome. And I'm so glad that you got to do that and experience that. And you have a closer bond with those guys in a different way now than you had even before, even though you knew them.
You know, John Bush almost said those exact words. He, like, at the end of the day, after it all kind of dust started to settle, he was like, now I got to tell you this, and you should already fucking know this because I've known John forever. He says, now you're part of this family. Now you're bonded. Now there's something different about our relationship. I cried at the end. I was like, I can't express what this all means. I had to leave. I wanted to leave. My job was done. John was back 100%. You know, he did the whole set the next night or the day after I left or whatever. And it was like that bittersweet going in and bittersweet going out. It's like, you got, you know, big hug. I got to go.
Yeah. So a lot of respect, you know, from the audience to be like, hey, they called this guy and that's our band. We're gonna champion this guy and root for him through the set. And you know, you fucking kicked ass, dude. I watched the footage.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, the truth is,
Scott Ian said something. Sorry, Dave. Scott Ian said something to me because me and Dave just saw Anthrax, Black Label, and Exodus at the same venue we last saw you at in San Antonio, the Techport Center, and it was fucking unbelievable. That show was fucking off the hook. And Scott Ian said I saw a photo of Bush and Frank Bello at the soundboard watching Armored Saint. And I was like, surreal, right?
Yeah.
Going, yeah, that didn't even make sense to my brain.
Yeah.
What Bush is watching his own band, and some
I know
fuckhead Texan dude is up there with his mic, with his band.
Yeah.
that's not fair. Don't say Texan.
Hey, why not?
Well, I have to tell you all, the truth is the reason that Jason got the call from Armored Saint and Accept is only because I wasn't available.
Oh,
That's really what it boils down to.
It's true.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
hey.
So I think he did a pretty good job, all things considered.
Dave had another gig that week.
I had another gig. Yeah. I had my cubicle was calling. Yeah.
Those calls and you clear your calendar. What?
Yeah.
Hey, hi, it's Queensryche, and we want you to be our singer now. Let me check my calendar. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's
sure.
so. This was the thing where I had to call, my work and just make sure that they knew I have to do this.
Yeah.
And they
You
were
have
like,
to do this.
yeah, you're right. You have to do this. So thank God for them too. That my family and my thing, my people were like, oh my God, that's badass. Yeah, we're working on it. So they're picking up the other line going, clear Jason's calendar. Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to in case I'm sure you've talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Before, but I wanted to kind of hear that from you, and I think that's really awesome, and I'm glad that you got that call and that you delivered the goods, and it was a really good look too. It was like, fuck yeah, man, check this out. Like I was getting texts like, did you see
you texted me after I landed? You were texting on the Accept thing. You were like, dude, no way. That was like something like your text said. And I was like, it's real. It's happening right now.
Cool. That's awesome.
I'm studying lyrics. I'm looking at the lyrics for Metal Heart right now. Kind of that kind of shit. So
yeah.
Thanks for saying that. It means a lot coming from you,
for sure.
As well as Dave, because all my friends and family were just championing the shit out of me the whole time, and I felt the love.
Hell yeah.
It was a special moment that I was standing tall because of the support that I had.
Yeah.
And I knew that I was just going to do the best that I could, no matter what.
Yeah.
I have to time out and just be honest with both of you guys. Is I can't watch the videos. Because the songs that I really don't know, I'm like really looking at the floor at the cheat sheet. I get lost a bunch. I don't want to bring it all up, but it makes me nervous when I watch those videos because I know when it ain't right.
Yeah, well,
that's the
integrity that you have, that what it's supposed to be, and you're like, if I would have had a little more preparation, if you knew like, hey, there's a scheduling conflict, you got a month.
Yeah.
Okay, but dude, the fact that you even went up there with the courage to grab that mic and go for it.
Yeah.
So you messed up. If according to you had whatever. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
The phone rang last night.
And you know what?
On an airplane. Yeah.
The show didn't get canceled, and you saved those gigs. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, we were all super proud of him, man. I can tell you, Todd, I woke up the next morning, I went to YouTube and I saw the videos, and I was texting Jason and I was telling him, I am literally jumping up and down in my room right now watching these videos. I'm like, fuck yeah, do it, man. Do it, man.
Yeah.
I was stoked.
And so it had to have been weird, Dave, like me calling you going, yeah, I can't do the podcast this weekend. Crickets. Well, why not? Because I'm fronting Accept for a week. Got to go by. Click.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I was probably one of the first people to get the news because he has to work with me to do this podcast.
We had people scheduled. Oh, it was Tuten DePena from Highlights. We were supposed to interview, and we couldn't. I had to cancel.
Yeah.
And I didn't even tell Tuten why. Hey, we have to move. We have to reschedule your thing. I'm leaving off because I'm Getting on a plane in a couple hours with a lyric book,
Well, hey, man, if there was ever a reasonable excuse, I would say that's it. And especially someone like Caton would totally get it. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck. Yeah.
Yeah. And Todd, I think we've already kept you past your limit, man. I know you've got a guest in town visiting. We don't want to keep you any longer. Always a pleasure talking to you, man. Wish you continued success with Rejoice in the Suffering. People need to go check out the new vinyl versions, colored versions. Look for Todd out on the road with Queensryche coming up here shortly. That goes for a few weeks, couple months, whatever it was, with Marty Friedman and Trauma.
Starts March 3rd.
Starts March 3rd. Queensryche still touring the excellent album Digital Noise Alliance. On behalf of my co-host Jason McMaster, I'm Metal Dave Glessner, along with our special guest Todd La Torre on the Talk Louder podcast.